On today's episode, I'm very excited to have Evan Neufeld in the studio. Evan is a financial planner and has his own firm called Cedar Point Wealth, which we're going to talk about today. I'm very excited to get into that. So thank you for being here, Evan.
Yeah, thanks for having me, man.
Evan is a financial planner. His work focuses on helping individuals and families simplify their financial lives and plan confidently for retirement. With an entrepreneurial background and experience in podcasting, Evan brings a clear, practical approach to aligning money decisions with the life people actually want to live. And part of that was written because I went on your LinkedIn profile and your banner said, do you remember what it says on your
Retire
banner?
with confidence.
Retire with confidence.
I hope that's on there. Yeah.
It is, yes.
Yeah.
So I thought that was really cool, like very simple messaging. And you and I share a little bit in common. Evan, you were a wedding photographer at one point.
Yes. In a former life, it feels like. Yeah.
In a former life.
Yeah.
You have a family, 2 beautiful children, beautiful wife. You started the financial planning journey how long ago?
10 years ago.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then how new is Cedar Point Wealth for you?
Cedar Point started, would have been May of this year, so it's still pretty fresh. It was just kind of a branching off and a new brand essentially for me. But I still work with the same clients, maybe a bit more of a tighter focus on people that are more on the cusp of retirement and that kind of thing. But yeah, Cedar Point is my new venture.
Why switch? So you're with a firm, Enns Baxter, who you have a great relationship with, and I mean, you started there with. I think you started your podcast while you were working there.
Yep.
Which is the Canadian Money Roadmap.
That's right. Yeah, started that in 2020, under lockdown. Yeah, started at home.
Was that the motivation?
Well, the motivation for the podcast. I
have...
don't know if we're jumping ahead in the questions here, but the motivation was not marketing centric at all. At the beginning, it was kind of the opposite because one of our former partners, so Frank Enns, so he was the Enns in the name, he had retired in mid to late 2019, and so I had taken over a chunk of his clients. Many of them I hadn't met in person yet because they were scattered across mostly Western Canada. Lots of them I had, and I had a good relationship with some of them, but it was, anyways, as COVID came around, there was, I was having a lot of the same conversations via email with clients over and over again. And so I thought, man, this podcasting thing sounds pretty cool because I can, put an idea out into the world that I can share with my clients, and I can get better at how I explain a concept or something like that. And so that way I get better as an advisor, but I also don't have to say the same thing over and over again. If somebody has a question, I could kind of point it back to the podcast and whatever. And if somebody found it and found some value in it, so be it. That was kind of it. So it was mostly a professional exercise for the first 3.5 years because I had all these new clients. I had no capacity to take on a new client. So I didn't really want it to turn into new business. But now, anyways, as time has gone on and I've kind of refined who I work with and who I can provide the most value to, it's now very recently become a bit more of a tool to bring in new clients, and that's where all my new clients come from now. Yeah,
that's exciting. Yeah, last time I visited you was at your old office.
Yep.
I think, and I remember you telling me, I'm not really looking at getting more clients. So I was like, wow, must be nice. No,
yeah, it's kind of a different approach, and maybe that speaks to where Cedar Point came from or why I ended up branching off. At Enns and Baxter, still some of my best friends personally and professionally are there, and so there was no blow up or anything like that. It's just I wanted my brand to speak exactly to who I worked with and the process that I follow. And in a model where there's different people doing different things with different sets of clients, it's tough to have your brand speak to that person. And so Some of them were just really practical things of like we ran out of office space, and so I wanted to bring on an associate who's joining me. When this episode comes out, he's probably already joined. But I needed some more space, and I was just looking for some cohesiveness with the brand and a few other things too. But anyways, that was kind of the impetus for launching this. So that way, Cedar Point can speak exactly to who I want to work with and my philosophy on how I do financial planning and investing.
Well, and you built the brand. Where'd the name come from?
So I didn't want, and this is just my preference, I didn't want my name on it because I wanted the brand to have the opportunity to exist beyond me if ever needed.
That's why we're Studio D.
Yeah.
Because actually, I used to
You're
be
not
at
Studio
Matt Ramage
Ramage.
Photography.
Yeah.
And then I think it was like 2012 or 13. I was like, I didn't want everybody to need me. Like that was the long-term picture.
Yep.
Now, if you know me or if someone knows you, Evan,
Yeah.
they still want to work with you.
Right.
But if you get a new team member on, they can spread their wings a little easier. Would you agree?
That's exactly it too.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so that's part of my vision for how I want to end up operating so that anyone who's a client of Cedar Point has the same experience regardless of who they end up working with as their like primary lead person or their associate or their client service specialist. Yeah, so I didn't want to have my name on it. And in our industry, everything's stuffy. And I wanted something that didn't feel stuffy. Like I'm wearing a sweatshirt, like I don't wear a suit really anymore because my clients, they have told me, some people might have different ideas, and that's totally fine. But you're familiar with white coat syndrome with doctors?
Tell me.
People get scared of people wearing a white coat, so like they go into a doctor's office, and as soon as they see somebody, it's like, oh my goodness, they start to get like palpitations. It's like a suit and tie is white coat syndrome for people's money.
I'm gonna push this towards you just a little bit.
Yeah.
I didn't know that's a thing.
Yeah,
Okay,
it's a real thing. It's a psychological thing, and so I wanted Cedar Point and my service to be really approachable and accessible. And sometimes just the simple fact of wearing a suit jacket freaks people out because it's like, oh, I don't measure up because I don't do that in my life, and so then people are embarrassed and they withhold things. They don't tell you the whole story, or it just
it's
creates
interesting. Yeah, and money's a very intimate thing to talk about, right?
Super intimate. Yeah, and so I'm like,
because people have debt, or it's exposing to talk about, and
yeah,
likely, I assume a new client maybe has never even talked about that with anyone.
Most people haven't, and even my initial conversations with people about just, okay, where are you at right now? It's just, and some people have said it's kind of like therapy almost to just like get it out and just talk about it with someone that's willing to listen and not make them feel stupid. So anyways, the Cedar Point name was like, okay, what if I have a nature themed name? Because people like getting outside, and I wanted something that was easy to say, easy to spell, short.
You can't spell cedar wrong.
Yeah, there's all these little things that Cedar Point, it's not a real place, like, and that's relevant to me anyways. It was probably exist somewhere, but I wanted it to sound like a cabin in the woods that people could, have a positive experience associating with.
Yeah, fits retirement.
Yeah.
I spent a lot of time. What's that one guy from Alaska? The Outdoor Boys.
Yeah.
You ever watch his YouTube videos?
Yeah, and he's back.
Yeah.
He was off for a while, and he launched a couple of videos or something.
Oh my gosh. I went and deep dived to him recently. He was a lawyer.
Yeah.
By trade, and he worked in like traffic law, I think. And yeah, it's interesting. And then he just like started making, I thought maybe he had like some sort of military background or something.
Survival something.
No, he just freaking lives in Alaska and does it for fun and did it for content and did it for the fun of it and made these challenges up for himself. And I'm like, oh my goodness. But yeah. Anyways, retirement. Yeah. Cedar, like the picture of it. It's very relaxing. It's very.
I just wanted people to think of it and just think, oh, that's nice. Not like fortress security. Like I don't know. There's so much of that, and it's like, that's fine. And that's a different brand, and that's okay. I just wanted everything to be relatable and approachable because money is just not that as a default. So whether that accomplishes it or not, that's brand, right? So it's tough to know.
But you like the brand stuff,
yeah, and I had some help with this, so credit to Taylor Pfeiffer. I don't know if you know Taylor.
Huge fan of Taylor.
Yeah. So he was critical in my development of the name and the brand and the imaging and everything like that. So shout out Taylor.
Yeah, he's awesome. He's going to be a guest
Oh, he is?
soon. He was supposed to be a guest. I was on his podcast like a few weeks ago.
Oh, nice.
He had a reschedule, so we're in I don't know, a future recording date.
Yeah,
But he's agreed to it.
Perfect.
I'll bug him.
Yeah.
Awesome. So I know we kind of jumped around there. Let's do this quick fire. I'm
Sure.
going to take the advice of my other guest. Are you a planner or spontaneous kind of fella?
Well, my title is a planner, but in a lot of ways, I actually am spontaneous too. So you have to plan your life around the ability to be spontaneous.
What's a spontaneous thing you would say you do?
Um, Planning vacations.
Yeah.
Yep.
Is that like one of your favorite things to do for your family?
Yeah. Yeah. We like getting away. It's one of the best ways I think you can spend money is spending intentional time out of your element with your family. Those moments were critical for me growing up and how I connected with my parents and sister and my grandparents. And those are the things you think about too. So it's the classic millennial trope of spend money on experiences instead of stuff. And so anyways, I like to plan vacations and have that be part of our family's life. And so me and my wife, we just planned a 10-year anniversary getaway. We're going to take our girls to...
With the kids?
No. This is a separate one. So
Okay.
we're doing Disney and some of those kind of things too. So anyways, those are the things I like to do. Maybe spontaneously. You can get in trouble if you don't have a good wherewithal with your finances on doing that kind of thing spontaneously. But I like to think I have a pretty good handle on my finances.
Credit card or debit card?
Credit card.
Yeah.
Yep.
I saw a meme. Well, it wasn't a meme, just like a random thing on Instagram, but it was like, if you don't have money for it, don't use your credit card to buy the trip. If you have money for it, use your credit card to buy the trip and then pay it back with your money.
It's the backwards way of doing it. So yeah, there's a lot of benefits to using credit cards, but it's one of the easiest ways to get in financial trouble. So for people that don't have a good handle on their finances, I'd say the opposite.
Just like the protection, especially with travel cards. Like we use an Avion card and it's covered hotels for us. It's paid for lost luggage. And then if something goes awry, like I think a travel credit card's great. Plus, certain credit cards will get you in those lounges if you travel a lot. I don't travel enough to do that.
Yeah. But they can be an asset. Like no one's ever getting rich off points. Like I know people have entire lives dedicated to collecting credit card points. It's like, I don't subscribe to that necessarily. But if it's a tool that gives you a few extra little perks and you pay it off every month, sure, use it.
Love it.
Yeah.
Paper notes or digital systems?
Both. I think I knew you were going to ask
like
this.
You don't have any paper in front of you, but you have a pen in your hand.
I have a pen in my hand. This is like an ADD thing.
Well, I'm sitting here like popping the lid off.
It's like I need to have a pen in my hand to think properly. My dad was like that too, so he always had a pen on him.
One of my guests had like her child is neurodivergent, so she brought this like fidget toy.
Yeah.
It was like this heavy metal thing with bearings that you could kind of rotate like a wet bar soap.
Yeah.
Anyway, I thought it was really cool.
Yeah, that's neat. So I could do the digital pen too. Like I'm just so I
last time
I gotta do both. Like I have iPad, but I use Notion and some of those tools. But every day I write in my notebook. I've got a specific one that I like to use.
Which kind of notebook?
It's called the Full Focus Planner. Are you familiar with this one?
No, I'm gonna write it down right now. Tell me about it. Or show me.
I've got it here. I don't use it to its full capacity.
So you use it like half focus planner.
Yeah, exactly.
Who made it?
It's
Intelligent Change?
No, so it's Michael Hyatt and his company.
I know him.
Yeah, so he's kind of branched this off.
I did his like best year ever program a decade ago.
Yep. Yeah, he's got lots of great content. I think his daughter's running the company now, but then they branched off their planner as like a separate company entirely. So like I'm gonna find you a blank page just so you can kind of see, but it's like every day you've got your big three. It's like these are the big three things that you got to get done. There's everything else. There's a little scheme of like whether you've done it, you're going to defer it, send it to somebody else, whatever you can put in your schedule for the day. Sometimes it's nice to just write it out so you actually know what's coming up, even though it's on your digital calendar. And then your notes beside there. But then every weekend, which this is the part that I don't do, I used to do it. It's just, It takes a lot of time. It's a good exercise to go through. It's your weekly preview, things that worked well, things that you're going to do for the week, whatever. It's something that I'd like to probably start doing next year. And so, anyways, it's a quarterly planner. I got a subscription. You got to box them every December.
I'm going to buy it. I like stuff like that.
It's awesome. Yeah, it's really great.
That pen you're holding, like a favorite pen?
Yeah.
Like you always buy that pen?
Yeah. You can't get this one anymore. Like this one's really tough to get.
Tell me about it. Because I like these Sharpie Roller .5s.
Yeah.
These are my favorite pen. I'm right-handed, so it works, but I find lefties can't use this kind of pen because
it's too smeary.
It smears on their left palm.
This one it's the Pilot G2 05. The 05 is really tough to get. You can get
most are 7.
Yeah.
07.
7s. Yeah. It's too thick for me. It's still a great pen.
Yeah.
But here.
Okay, now we're doing a pen review here.
Yeah. The 05.
Yeah, .5 is my favorite. Pencils I like 7.
Yeah.
Pens I like 5. So this would be the same. I'm gonna just write.
It's sharp. It's perfect.
Yeah, I could get used to this. Okay, if you can't find these.
Yeah. These ones.
That one's pretty good. They're like I think they're $2 each or something. Not crazy.
Yeah.
But I always buy a box of them.
Yeah.
And I like black pens. You like black pens,
I like
obviously.
black pens too. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know why, but I don't like blue pens.
I haven't had a blue pen. I don't know in how long. Everything's black.
I have the odd red pen, but I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I went through a phase where I got fountain pens from Soul Paper.
Yep.
Lamy,
yep.
I think was the brand. Too much hassle.
It's too complicated. You have to. It's a skill.
Well, it's just like they're messier.
Yeah.
You need certain paper or else it bleeds.
I found the cartridge. I'd never had Lamys, but I found cartridges dry up.
Yeah, the pen dries up and they don't work,
yeah.
or they.
I'm not writing enough volume.
I even bought the ink pad or the ink pot filler, which kind of works, but then they always ran out on me on location. And I was like, okay. So anyway,
now
I've kind of retired
green ink or something.
Yeah, I probably have 2. I think I have 4 of them in my drawer that I don't use. So I like them.
Yeah.
But
pens are fun.
But yeah, they have a fine point tip. So that people think of fountain pens, they think of calligraphy. That one writes just like this one would. It's just
right.
But anyway, podcast mic or client meeting?
Probably podcast mic. Because I can be a little bit more in control. So the client meetings, I like to prioritize whatever the client wants to talk about, and sometimes that changes in the moment. And so thinking on your feet, and sometimes that's great, but it's a lot more. It requires a lot more energy to do it, whereas podcasting is kind of an energy giving activity in that way. So it's not like I dislike client meetings by any means, but it's just a different amount of mental capacity that's required before, during, and after each of those.
One financial habit that quietly matters more than people think.
Depends on how quiet. I guess if someone's listening to my podcast, it probably wouldn't be quiet, but taking a look at your savings rate, it's like how much you actually save versus your income. It's super critical to actually get ahead. So a lot of people will be like, I save $100 a month or whatever it is, and that number never goes up, but their income keeps going up, inflation keeps going up. So you can easily get behind that way, or they just don't save at all ever. So managing your savings rate, there's no magic number necessarily, but even just being aware of it can help enlighten what you're already doing with your money. So yeah, there's plenty of them, but I think that would be a big one that matters a ton. Yeah.
So I'm gonna jump into a question. I didn't write this down.
Yeah.
Do you think people should talk about money more freely? Like maybe we don't talk about like how much do you make and know what everybody's salary is. Not that I even think that's so bad, but like for our company, my employees see, like we talk about our total revenue. Where I know some people are like, no, I don't want my employees to know what the revenue is because then they'll want more or something. And I'm like, I don't know. Like, and I've worked at jobs, like I used to work at Future Shop back in the day before it was Best Buy, and we had sales targets and we could look at them. They had a budget for every day and you could see your sales for the day. And it was like, kind of helped you like at least aim for something. And, you know, even as a family, you know, like to learn the skills of financial literacy is like I don't know. Like I didn't learn them. I feel like I'm learning things the hard way. Like I've been in massive credit card debt in my life. I've been in massive like CRA debt as a business owner. I've gotten behind on taxes I've owed, and like literally this year caught up for the first time in like a decade. I actually had my CRA balance at zero.
Okay,
Like
yeah,
I crawled out of that.
yeah.
A skill, that I had to learn a few skills to do that. I saw it as like almost insurmountable. So I guess the question, should people talk about money more?
Hmm. I'd say yes and no. Like I think context matters. So I think, I don't like to call myself an expert because I think the expert gives a connotation that you have
Well,
everything
you let
figured out.
people
But
can choose if you're an expert or not, right?
yeah, I guess like I'd say specialist. It's like I spend a lot of time doing it and working in it. Um, so I think people that have a specialty in helping people with money should talk about it more. People that have no clue what they're talking about shouldn't talk about it as much. They should, you know what I mean? Like, I think the internet is full of people that are giving advice when they have no concept of things themselves. And so Reddit is full of this kind of stuff where it's like there's just bad advice echo chambering around like over and over again. And you don't know who's on the other end. It's some 12-year-old that has like that read something one time and is just like regurgitating it. So it's like you got to be careful who you listen to. And so talking about it, in some ways, I've seen it do more damage than anything. So that's just like conceptually, maybe
No,
that's a
that's
hot
good.
take
No,
that
it's
I
good.
didn't even know I had here. But so part of that is like I wanted to have the podcast because there's precious few people that have credentials that actually have a compliance department that lets them talk about stuff in a public setting. So that was part of it too. Not that I have everything figured out by any means, but I just wanted to be a resource that has a reasonable amount of credentials behind the things that I'm saying
Mm-hmm.
to people. And so I think that's changing too. But even like in the context of what you're talking about within a family, I think that's where you should talk about it so much more. Not you, but like one should be talking about it so much more than the standard. Typically, there's a money person in the house, and that person holds all the cards. And that is just setting everybody up for failure because that person has their own set of experiences and knowledge, whether it's good or bad. The people that they listen to, that might not be good. It might be perfect, like it might be a really good setup, but it opens up risk for the household if one person has all of the inputs and outputs with the money. And so even just talking to your spouse and having even an annual conversation, if your spouse is not the money person, just bringing them into the fold and be like, this is what's going on. This is what we have. This is how much we make. This is where we invest every month. This is why we're doing this. This is the insurance we have if something goes sideways. If I get hit by a bus, this is who you call. And if you don't have those things, what a perfect opportunity to get a plan in place for your whole household. But oftentimes one person in the family holds those keys. And I think that's an opportunity to talk more.
Like, are you already teaching your daughters about money, like saving and like I'm a big fan of, I don't know if you are, but I'm a big fan of Dave Ramsey.
Mm-hmm.
I did his financial peace course.
Financial Peace University?
Yeah, like
Yeah.
years ago. I don't even know if it's still a thing or if it's modified, but we did it and we actually got debt free at the time within like 3 months.
Yeah.
And it set us up to buy our first home. It was pretty cool. Like we had literally like paid off vehicles and stuff like that. And
Yeah.
and
Yeah,
student loans. That was like, that's how early in our marriage it was. But it was like, oh, we just like crushed out debt that seemed like it was just going to linger forever.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a lot of what he teaches that is just universal wisdom, like spend less than you make, pay down high interest debt, have an emergency fund. It's like, yeah, like who could disagree with this stuff? Some of his takes on investing might be a little bit less nuanced and a little bit more blanket. But anyways, that's probably another conversation for another day.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But yeah, so for your kids.
Yeah. So for my kids, yeah, they're 5 and 3. And so we've introduced some concepts. I don't know how much is sticking and things like that, but we've done the lemonade stand. We've, those kind of things. It's just My wife likes to talk about having drip conversations with kids. So not like, let me sit you down and tell you how the world works kind of thing. It's just like when an opportunity comes up to explain, like, why can't we buy that? It's like, oh, because we only have so much money and we have to prioritize certain things and whatever. It's just having little conversations over and over and over again, not necessarily big, meaningful, like this is the money chat kind of stuff. So I think I am at this stage. I'm not being overly intentional with it. That time will come for sure.
Yeah.
But
I'll
yeah.
tell you what we're doing. You could tell me if you find it interesting, but we've given our kids, this is years now we've done it, but just like they get a base allowance.
Mm-hmm.
Just it auto transfers every month into an account. They don't have their fingers directly on it, or else my daughter, Lucy, who's 9, would buy Roblox until she was out of money every month.
Right.
And so we still help them we try to help them not waste it. But then the idea of it is like when they want something, it's up to them to save, wait, spend their own money, and they're what we've seen is like they actively weigh it out. Like my daughter Roxy, she's 16, she loves Starbucks, but it's like, is it a treat from mom and dad or is she paying for it?
Mm.
And most of the time she has to pay for it. And then when she has to pay for it, she'll just be like, nah, it's okay.
Yeah.
And I like those like sort of delayed gratification habits that my kids are building. And part of this comes from like, I didn't have that as a kid because I just, I didn't have money, so I couldn't be bad or good with money. I just didn't have it. And then once I started getting money in my fingers, just go through like as fast as possible to buy things that I wanted. But yeah, so that's been interesting. Even Christmas is a part where actually Dave Ramsey's course was like, Christmas is coming. It happens every year. Just pick what your budgets are and like divide it by 12 and put it in your savings account, right?
That's what I do that.
Because we would also have the habit of going broke after Christmas,
Everybody does.
And now for like 3, 4, or 5 years now, it's like we go through Christmas and it's like all the money was already there, even for the food. Like, you forget like, oh, we're hosting a Christmas dinner and okay, we want all the treats and food and, just a few $100 extra, but those few $100 extras compounded
3 more times.
Yeah, maybe you have 3 gatherings, you're spending a bit more on gas driving around. But anyway, getting my kids to buy their own gifts for their siblings and like now they view it as their money. And it's not like mandatory that they have to buy something, but it's kind of like, well, that's my phone ringing, but it's not here. It's in my computer. It's my daughter. But yeah, so it's just like getting them to kind of feel like the benefit of giving, like giving something that's yours. And I don't know.
I think I like that because it gives an opportunity to succeed, but also an opportunity to fail safely.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Where it's like, if they have money and they spend it, the most you can lose is all of it.
Yeah.
If they have a credit card, the most you can lose is more than everything, right? Because you never had the money in the first place and they're on their own. They're not living at mom and dad's house anymore. And sounds like you maybe have a good handle on how much they have or whatever. And you could say,
they ask us all the time what it is. So my son actually has like $1,500 now.
Yeah. And so if you spend it all and you can be like, oh, sorry, remember this, how this feels like not having any money. It's like, that's the idea of feeling safely, I guess, where it's not going to absolutely blow up his life by overspending, but he has the chance to learn what it feels like.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think there's something there for sure.
And then another rule is like, I don't let them borrow money at all. Like that's just not a tool that I've ever let them use.
Yeah.
Like from us.
Yeah.
Just, I don't know. I've heard actually Dave Ramsey said this to him, referencing him way more than I thought I would, but it's like when you borrow money from family, the turkey tastes different. It's like different. I think that was one of his phrases. And it was like, and I actually grew up being a little bit like resentful because a lot of my peers would get down payments for houses or university completely covered, which is great. Like nothing, like I was just jealous.
Yeah.
And I kind of resented my dad. And now it's like, oh, the gift of that is like, there's a pride in kind of doing it on your own a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's also a thing where it's like, they don't have the influence in your life as a parent. Like if they're covering all the costs, like they have a bit of a say, whether you think so or not. It's true.
Yeah. There's a bunch of different ways that you can go with that I've seen work pretty well. One of the worst ways, sometimes talking about failures is way better than like the perfect example. But like when parents, it's my typical audience is people 45 plus, they're
The
kind
kids
of,
are probably right getting to that age of
yeah,
going to
they're in that target
college.
market. And so what I see as a big problem is when parents take out debt themselves so that their kids don't have to for school. Like, oh man, probably not the move.
Yeah, what's your opinion on like paying for kids
Mm.
post-secondary?
I think it's fine. I never push people to because I think it's based on your priorities as a family, like whether that's actually something that you want to do. If you have the financial capacity to do it and you want to do it, sure, like that's fine.
But just because you can, should you?
I don't make a moral
Or does it
judgment.
matter?
Yeah, it doesn't matter to me.
Like,
Yeah, I don't know. I just see so many different versions of successful families, and that doesn't seem to correlate.
yeah.
It's like you could be completely successful and pay for your kids' school. You can be completely successful and give them nothing. And I see that kind of playing out with actual people.
Mhm.
So I don't know. Yeah, I don't really make a moral stance on it. I don't know if we're talking like morals here necessarily, but like a should statement. There's some practicalities that, like what I was talking about, where someone doesn't have the money themselves to fund their own spending, their own retirement, and they say, "Oh boy, I don't want my kids to get into student loans." Like, I think that's a misunderstanding of our student loan system, personally. A lot
Well,
of
aren't they interest-free and all that? Like,
yeah, like there's a portion of it. I don't know if this is changing right now, but just in the last number of years, the federal portion of student loans is interest free. The provincial portion is not, but it's deductible for the kid. Um, and you don't get interest being charged until after you're done, typically. So once you're done school, so it's not like this ballooning amount. Plus, the interest rates are completely reasonable in terms of a floating rate. So it's usually prime plus one ish, which is pretty cheap as far as interest goes in the States, and where all the content like about like the boogeyman of student loans comes from. So this comes from the States because their student loan system is absolutely crazy. It's
well, and even
nuts.
their college system's not the
The
same.
college system is different. The costing of it is completely different. They do more of like a scholarship model where it's like there's way more free ride potential for sports, academics, and whatever, than everybody else foots the bill. Whereas in Canada, there's a lot more subsidies where the average person going to school pays way less in the first place. Plus, the kids, if they have student loans, they have very low interest cost and it's deductible for them. Whereas if I as a parent take out debt for myself, it's not deductible for me, and the rate's probably going to be a lot higher with way poor payback terms. So if you're someone that doesn't already have the money to be able to help them, getting yourself into debt under the illusion of helping your kid is probably doing the opposite. Anyways, this is a really specific example.
No, I like that. I
yeah.
think, well, I think a lot of people will go through this or are going through it or have gone through this. And
Yeah.
to know it's not like moral, it's just, and like, what do
It's
you,
your choice, yeah.
yeah. And it's like, yeah, I get the idea of like, if you put yourself on the line for a kid to do something, you're also expecting them to use it. You're putting technically a lot of pressure on them to like go get a degree and then make something of it, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Like that's just an unwritten or written sort of agreement between the parent and child, and it's like, I don't know. And then you're getting into like just the philosophy of parenting. Like, what do you want for your kids? Like, you want them to have a good life. You want them to have opportunity. You want them to be, there's a thing in parenting where like you can over support children, and that's actually toxic for the child.
Mm-hmm.
Or if they have everything at their fingertips and nothing feels like it's a risk or pressure on them, they don't tend to thrive. So they need like
some opportunity
support.
to fail safely.
Yeah. Like they need support and expectation equally. This is from a prof. I learned this from a prof who used to be he used to be a prof for teachers at the U of S. He was like, yeah, there's quadrants, and it's like support and not support, and then there's expectation and not expectation, and the a harsh dad could give no support. This was an example. No support, but high expectations, which is really hard on a child, and over support, but no expectation. He kind of
this dependency.
Yeah, he said a lot of moms will lean that way, and a lot of dads will lean the other way. But like you want to kind of be in the middle. You want both.
Yeah.
support and challenge, because you want to help them become independent and learn things. And it's,
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm figuring this out. I'm just realizing as a parent, my dad and mom were also just trying to figure it out.
They're doing it for the first time too.
And they were trying to just do better than their parents. And I'm trying to do
Yeah.
better than my parents. And, the truth is, like, my parents did a lot right. And my parents did a lot right. And,
And it's just context changes too. It's
Yeah,
like you can still do the right thing in your own personal context.
Yeah.
This is the idea of why we call it personal finance, not rule of thumb finance. Right?
Yeah.
It's like everything matters when it comes to your own situation.
Okay. So in your professional experience, how do you know if you've done a good job with someone or a client? Like,
Me personally, how do I know?
Like, how would you say, Evan, pat yourself on the back? You really took care of this client. What kind of things would be true for that client?
It's almost never dollars and cents or rate of return or anything like that. Like all that stuff. It's like it's part of it. Like it's all part of it. But it's when I hear someone say, and I get this reasonably often, especially with an older demographic, just say, I'm so thankful that you're doing this and I don't have to.
What would this be?
Managing the investments, planning for taxes, telling them they got to make this transaction before the end of the year. Like sometimes it's like pretty complicated stuff where I explain what they have to do, and I say, and we'll just send you the paperwork. Like as long as you understand what we're doing and the costs associated with it, and so on and so forth, we'll put the paperwork in front of you. All you have to do is sign, and we'll take care of it from there. They say, oh, thank goodness, this is awesome. And a lot of people just in the general public like to do things themselves, and that's totally fine. Like I'm not saying that our firm or an advisor is a good fit for everybody, but when I see the relief of what we do for people that want to be delegators for that part of their life, and that we can provide a good service that is rooted in evidence and is a fair price and all that kind of stuff, and they say, thank goodness you're taking care of this for me, that feels so good.
You find the best clients are the ones who kind of know, like you've helped, maybe they're savvy-ish themselves, and then maybe you've done a bit of education with them on some of the opportunities that are available to them in their position. And then they're like, so they understand the picture, and then they're like, oh yeah, okay, now and then they delegate to you. Like, I don't get my own oil changes. Like, I go to an oil change shop.
Sure.
I don't care.
Yeah.
Like, I will never do my own oil change.
Yeah.
Like, for my life, no value to me.
Yeah.
But I know how to do it. I know why it's important, and I understand. But anyway, yeah, what kind of makes a good client there?
Yeah, so for me, there's lots of versions of a good client, and I just want to tiptoe there, obviously, a little bit, because I don't want to make someone sound like a bad client.
Let's say not a good client.
But I do know what you mean. But
a good fit, yeah.
A good fit is someone that that asks questions that are relevant to their situation, wants the answer, and then is, if they're hiring me for this part of it, to say, okay, now that's okay if you just go do that. Right. It's the people that just like, I don't care, just make me more money. It's like, that's probably not a good fit here because of all the things that come along with that. But it's the people that understand even the smallest amount of how things work, ask good questions about how it relates to their situation, and then release and say, perfect, we're going to go take care of this for you, and we're going to do a good job for you.
Yeah. Does that, and so would a lot of your clients have this in common, where it's just, they feel good about it? Like a place of their life, perhaps they've come in without any historical planning. They come to you and they're like, oh, I never knew this was how this worked. No, because big part of it, I think societally, we don't talk much about retirement, especially in a world where like a lot of parents maybe had a job with a pension, and that's sort of the only planning.
Mm-hmm.
We live in a place with tons of farmers. I assume you have tons of farmers. And
I don't actually.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, some of my former colleagues at the other office, they specialized in working with people in rural communities and farmers, for sure.
Because those have their own implications of like how to
Totally.
keep the farm going after mom or dad passes away, like, the tax implications. But anyway, I can see how that would be a very specialized thing. But yeah, you have all these people with, these different needs that maybe they didn't know the options, or they didn't know the risks of doing nothing, or
yeah. And you see it come up in a variety of different ways oftentimes. Again, I want to be careful how I phrase this, but some of my best clients in terms of people that are asking for advice, asking good questions and willing to listen to the advice are widows, because of the things that we talked about before of like sometimes there's a money person in the household, and typically for that age demographic, it's often the man in the household. And then if they were to pass away, I've seen it so many times where the surviving spouse, she's left to figure everything out after the fact. And so doesn't know how much they have, doesn't know if they're going to run out of money, doesn't know what the investment strategy was, doesn't know anything about taxes, doesn't know where the money is, and how everything works. And so just getting everything kind of sorted out for them and say, oh, okay, this is what they were doing before. And many times the money person's spouse who has passed had a good handle on things. And that's not saying that they were hiding stuff behind the scenes. I've seen that, but like it's not super common necessarily. But then from there, the advice also changes when it's one person and now they're planning for probably leaving money behind for their kids or something like that. And so it's kind of neat to see when those people have the opportunity to then take the reins themselves and seek out advice and act on it and feel good about the opportunities that are available to them. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know if I'm answering the question exactly how you phrased it, but yeah.
I don't remember the question.
Yeah.
No, I like what you're saying. Yeah, I find the I assume you probably talk to a lot of people to like, do you have a will? Like, is that a big part of what you would do?
I can't do them, so that needs to be done by a lawyer, legal professional.
But that would be a tool you would
highly recommend everybody gets.
Part of, yeah. Like, so lawyer, like a will, power of attorney.
Yeah.
Just to keep a family unit a little bit more protected and like.
Yeah, if you pass away and you don't have a will, your life's a nightmare, or your family's life is a nightmare.
I had one of my clients. I photographed her wedding. I went to high school with her too, so I know her. I knew her outside of being a client, but within a year after they got married, her spouse passed away unexpectedly, just like in an accident, a motor vehicle accident. And she made a public post, like she didn't have a will. I mean, they were young, like in their late 20s or early 30s. And just that wasn't on the radar of, things that were going to happen for them. And, and she posted that it was just like a nightmare to figure it out. And they were both like in their prime, like doing well financially, making money, but then, also the commitments with a brand new house they built, that was like a big thing. And then all that, I think her estate and everything got tied up for like a year. And I don't even know the rules for how, I don't know exactly what she said, but like, I remember being like, she couldn't just move forward with anything. Like everything was like locked down and had to go through.
Yeah. So it's called intestacy. So if you die intestate, meaning you don't have a will when you die, you have to follow the rules of the province. And a lot of people think it's like, the government takes all your money. It's like, no, it's objectively untrue. It's just they have to follow their process to make sure that there's a standardized procedure in place, and that takes forever. Yeah. And so you, as a spouse who wasn't named in the will, you're not automatically the executor of your spouse's estate. You have to apply to the courts to be a representative. Like it's complicated, and it's a little bit out of my wheelhouse in terms of the specifics of the applications and all that. It's just really, really complicated, and there's no default without getting the courts involved. So yeah, you can't just be like, oh, now it's all mine. Like, no, sorry. Yeah. It's actually way more complicated. Even if the result ends up being the same, the process has to be followed. So if you're a single person, but you have assets, and a lot of people say, oh, once you get married, you got to get a will. It's like, get a will while you're single, as long as you've got assets, because you still need someone to distribute everything that you have afterwards, or deal with your stuff, or take care of your dog, like all sorts of things. Yeah. Anyways, get a will.
Yeah.
Get a will.
Do it. We did ours as like a couple. I don't know. About 2 years ago, our first like formal will, like we went to a lawyer, and it wasn't even that much money, and we added on like power of attorney as well, and then like protocols of like, the lawyer guided us, I think, really well to like, okay, if you both pass away, then what? Okay, if your backup plan of who's going to take your kids isn't available because you didn't update your will and it was like your parents and then they passed away, then what? So
the second order
Yeah, they had
things.
us
Yep.
go through all these different layers, and then it was like, that will is probably good for most of the rest of our lives, likely. Maybe, probably for 20 years, I would bet. Maybe, I don't know. Like, we'll see how, like, my business is probably the one complicator. Like,
Yeah.
if our business grows to be something a little bit more than me, then obviously I would have to change some things. But
Corporate structures and share ownership and
yeah,
things like
well,
that.
then,
It's like mine's changed since we last did our will. So, for example, I'm actually updating my will with a new lawyer in January because my previous lawyer retired. So I had
okay.
to find a new one. And I said, hey, it was probably a good opportunity for you to take a sober look at our situation without any previous context and see if there's any gaps. These are the things that have changed in our life since we did our will last. And yeah, so anyways, we'll see what happens in January.
Oh, I heard that tractor. You know that story about the farmer who died, got crushed by farm equipment and wrote his will on a tractor fender?
Mm-hmm.
That's a real story I learned.
Okay.
And that fender is in the College of Law at the U of S.
Oh, really?
This is like a real story, and that, like, it's like saved somewhere. Someone told me that.
Oh, crazy.
Okay, I haven't seen it with my
Yeah.
own two eyes, but
Maybe this is...
who would lie to me about that, right?
Who would?
Someone in real life.
It's way too boring a rumor to... Yeah.
Yeah, anyway, I
Wills,
thought that was interesting. But yeah, I wouldn't chat GPT it. Like, part of the reason you do any of these things is to, like, let's get into like a bit of the financial planning and retirement, because
Sure.
you're not doing these, like, for the will, for example, like you could go on chat GPT and make a will and it would probably be okay, but you don't make a will just to have one. You make it to protect you and like kind of know things are taken care of. So it's like,
Mm-hmm.
I'll take a risk on certain things, but that was one, and for the price of a will, just like,
Yeah, especially with there's some online platforms that are okay too. Like, I'm not going to vouch for anybody like, publicly on a podcast, but if you have a really simple situation, having one online can be okay. Like, wills have to be done in a certain way, and every province has different rules for it too. And so using AI to come up with a document, it's like, is it going to be witnessed properly? Like,
it could be good, but if it isn't, you
man.
won't know because you're not there.
And you don't know so many of the different things. Like, if you have a printed will where it's actually typed out and you start making changes to it with pen, it's like the whole thing is kaput typically. Everything either needs to be entirely handwritten. It's called a holograph will. Entirely handwritten and signed off and whatever. Again, I got to be careful here.
I
This
know,
is
I
like,
know.
I don't want to be
Yeah,
giving legal advice because I'm not a lawyer by any means, but like, there's a lot of ways that you can get wills and legal stuff wrong. Talk to a lawyer. Always talk to a lawyer.
What does retire with confidence actually look like beyond the numbers?
Beyond the numbers. So, again, I like to give opposite examples so people can kind of feel the yuck. What often happens in the general public, these aren't my clients, I preach to the choir a little bit, but what often happens with retirement is people hate their jobs so much that they're just looking to, like, I just got to get out. Or they see their spouse retire and they're having fun without them and they keep going into work Monday to Friday. They're like, I just got to be done. And, then they start making decisions on, say, Canada pension plans. Like, I'm just going to take that because I can just take it now. So why wouldn't I do that? Or that they have a pension at work and their pension says retirement date on it, when in reality that represents a 40 to 60% reduction in their income. It's like, you can't have the same lifestyle at all, even though your pension statement says you can retire on this date. It's like, you have no capacity to retire. And so after the fact, you end up seeing people in their retirement years saying, it's not what I expected. This is really stressful. I don't have nearly the money. I think my investments are going to run out. I don't really know. They don't even know what they don't know of potential money they might have left on the table on government benefits timing and all these kind of things, income splitting, all these tax opportunities, whatever. And so what I help people do is get organized, say, do you have enough money to make it work? When do you want to retire? Can we do it earlier? Do we have to push it back a little bit? So they have confidence in when they can quit working, how much money they can spend. Is it going to run out? Run the what ifs.
You slipped in a little phrase there. Do you have enough money to make it work? How do you even answer that? Like,
yeah, you have to.
Like, most people don't think about that. Like, what does that even mean? We got to deal with inflation. Like, I heard $100,000 of household income in 2020 is like you need 130,000 now for the same buying power.
Maybe we had a couple of years of super high inflation in there, like in 21 and 2 was really high, but
But you extrapolate that over 20 years. You know, how many people think of like, okay, I make good money now.
yeah.
That'll be good enough in 20 years. Like I'm 39.
Mm-hmm.
I set a retirement date of like 65. So I was
Yep.
like, okay, I got 26 years left.
Yep.
Or 25 years left. You know, and it's like, but to define that, like, what do I want retirement to look like
It's
is that
pretty tough.
is that where you spend more of your time with people? Like you're literally like, do you want to travel? And then you do an inflation assessment. Like, okay,
Yeah.
this is a historical inflation. Like you'll need to live like you do now. You'll need this much money then. Like, is that all part of this?
Totally. Yeah. So we use pretty complicated software to be able to model all this stuff out. And so we can do basic stuff of like, this is your lifestyle today. Once you're done paying off the mortgage, you're not saving for retirement once you're in retirement anymore. We can kind of strip out like what it costs you to live. So it's often based on your income right now, because assuming you're net positive every month, you're not going into debt every month, your current income is a pretty good predictor of what your future income needs are going to be a little bit. And so, yeah, factoring in inflation with those things, some one-off trips that you might want to do, planning for this, that, and the other thing, we can kind of model all that stuff out. Where is it going to come from? Do you only have RSPs? Do you just have a pension? Do you not have a pension? Because some sources of income, say, for example, CPP, they're indexed to inflation. And so that means it goes up when inflation is 2%, your CPP payment goes up by 2%. Old age security does the same thing, but it happens every quarter. You know, there's some complex stuff that happens there. And so if you are someone that doesn't have CPP, if you only got paid dividends or you never worked or something like that, then, okay, well, the money's got to come from somewhere. So where do we take it from? How do we factor in taxes? Because taxes are different. It's complicated. And so that's why we are able to take all that stuff out, and we can just have the conversation of like, what do you want retirement to look like? And then I can do the complicated math stuff behind the scenes.
What's some common things people dream about or want in retirement? Like what's like important to them now? Like, because you've worked with people who've crossed that line, right?
Oh yeah.
Like they've gone from saving and generating income to now starting to use those resources and to like technically net worth
Yeah.
not climbing as fast as it used to, or starting to even like, you know, use it up.
That's hard for people. I know this isn't what you asked, but this flipping the switch from saving to spending is part of this like retire with confidence piece, because you might have millions of dollars set aside, and I've experienced this with people, and they're terrified to spend a dollar. They're always scared. That person might always be scared to spend money for any number of traumatic events in the past, or they grew up poor or something like that, and they can never have enough. And so putting a plan in place and showing some projections of like, we can spend this much forever, and you're still like pretty likely to still have a lot of money left over for the kids or whatever the case is. But without a proper plan in place and someone that's in your corner telling you that you're okay, people just sit on piles of money and it'll never be enough. And it's like, it's greed at a different level, right? Like it's, sometimes people think greed is like spending a lot of money, getting a lot and spending a lot. It's like, no, it's actually just not spending anything because you're fearful of all sorts of, this is a big philosophical question.
My experience is very limited. My dad's retired recently. He's 67, and it's hard for him to see his net worth start to go down.
Yeah.
And like, because he never thought about it. And so now to use any of his assets and resources he's built up is hard for him. Like he basically still lives the same way.
Mm-hmm.
And then, you know, he's talked for years about, if I pass away, you kids would get so much, like, which, whatever. He's kind of proud of that, but it's like, almost like, by the time that happens, I don't need, like, that won't be life-changing anyway.
Yeah.
Like,
I've done my part to plan for my own life at that point, maybe, or whatever.
I don't know, like,
yeah.
You know, what, like, if someone got $200,000, like, I have 3 siblings too, right? Like, so let's say,
yeah.
I mean, I'm not going to publicly say what my dad's net worth is, but let's say it was, I'm just going to throw out a number of $200,000, like that,
yeah.
Like that's not a house even, you know, like you could put that towards a mortgage, but you could, like a vehicle, a brand new truck is $90,000. Like, you and I both own campers. I think mine was like 40 some thousand brand new.
Stupid.
And it's like, well, and our earning capability as a family, my wife and I working full time is like pretty high compared to my dad's high. And
Mm-hmm.
I mean, my parents got divorced too, but anyway, it's really painful for him to see that net worth start to drop. And it's like, and then you connect that to his health span. Like his health is, he's in his late 60s. His ability to go do and enjoy things is he's starting to have, health things that just make things a little more inconvenient,
Mm-hmm.
which I think is common. Like, I mean, I turned like 32 years old and back pain started being a problem.
Yeah, I'm going to physio tomorrow morning, by the way.
You do? Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm 40 in the next 6 months. And I'm like, what's going to be then? Maybe it's going to be my eyesight. I don't have to wear glasses yet, but
Yeah.
I already can't have my phone right by my face.
Yeah.
So it's like, it'd be really good for him to like enjoy it, but also like it's up to him to make those choices. So
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. You're speaking to the pain people have. So is that common where people feel that like they're worried or?
It's common, but it's not exclusive. So, lots of people are really comfortable spending their money. It's like, I worked hard for this. I'm going to go on the trip now and we're going to have lots of fun. And then other people, rightfully or wrongfully, I say wrongfully because they have sufficient assets, and some people just don't have sufficient assets. And so maybe they should be a little nervous or careful. But yeah, it is quite common for people to feel that way, and it's tough to speak into that as a financial professional because I'm not a therapist, and you kind of have to wear that hat a little bit, but you don't want to step too far into that territory,
Well, I think
because there are professionals that are good at that.
But I think you are sort of in that place because you're like, okay, have you heard of this phrase called hedonic adaptation?
Mm-hmm. The hedonic treadmill of,
well, the idea was if you won $1 million or $10 million in 6 months, you would not be, your elation about life or like the way you feel, that excitement would be gone in 6 months. You'd adapt to it. It would be normalized.
I see. Yeah.
And tragedy can be the same way where you could have lingering things to tragedy, but let's say minor tragedies, like you lose your job and you find a different one. Maybe it doesn't pay as good, but in like 6 months you adapt to that. Like
Mm-hmm.
as long as like the repercussions were kind of solved.
Mm-hmm.
But you get to retirement, like do people fantasize way too much about it? Like they think they can do all these things or they think that's going to be what makes them happy, or do they even retire and they're like, this is actually boring.
Yes.
And you have you, as your job, you probably have all these discussions way more than the average person, right?
Yeah, and so like I said, I kind of preach to the choir a little bit. So I don't see it as much with my client base because they're pretty engaged people that are engaged with their money, and we have conversations for a long time. But
do you think that's because they've spent a lot of time to think about their future, where some people maybe just haven't taken the time to do that?
Maybe. Yeah, I don't know.
And then maybe just contrast that to like, is it like the people who live a good life now, like to make the most of today, are the ones who make the most of it in their retirement?
Yes. So I do have a lot of anecdotal evidence to support
Drop
that.
Names. Break confidentiality.
Yeah.
Just kidding.
No, but I find that people, I've kind of spoken to some concepts here already in the same vein, but the people that are the most satisfied in their working life often have the most satisfaction in their retirement life. And the people that are most desperate to leave their jobs are just miserable in retirement too, for whatever reason.
Speculate. Why do you think?
There's a few reasons. I think probably like on the leading up to it, and where the people that hate their jobs so much, they maybe spend more money on trying to get away from work, and so they have less capacity to save and have a financially secure retirement when they get there, because some of the money's already been spent, just doing other things.
If you buy new trucks every 5 years or boats, like and cabins, you're
it's even small things
leaking
though. Like
away.
It's the small leaks sink big ships kind of idea, but that could be part of it too. And someone might just be miserable at their job because it doesn't pay enough, and so they don't have a capacity to save, and so they feel financial stress all the time too. But I have a number of clients who have worked in nonprofits their whole lives, and they just lived within their means reasonably, and now a lot of our conversations are like, how can you, like, you got to be spending some of this money. Like, you got to do something with it. And they're like, well, but I'm still kind of working. I still like doing this and whatever. And so they're actually still building assets throughout the retirement years. So yeah, I don't know. I think there is a lot to say about job satisfaction in general that just leads to general life satisfaction. But, again, I feel like there should be PhD papers on that instead of my
I bet there
my
is.
speculation.
But your speculation would be very well. I bet your gut feeling's better than most. Like, because you see it and you live it and you see real experiences and you see, I mean, obviously your clients are a certain type of person,
Mm-hmm.
but like, you're seeing that side. But like, your intuition of like the clients who live a good life, continue to live a good life.
Yeah.
Oh, well, that makes a lot of sense. And the
Yeah.
people who run from problems and never solve them, maybe never have learned the skills to find the most. Do you find, let's talk about like happiness and joy.
Mm-hmm.
Like, do you find people don't take enough time to figure out that part of their life? And like, and then maybe a secondary question is like, what makes people, if you have lots of money,
Mm-hmm.
people think money equals happiness. Like,
Did you listen to my most recent podcast episode?
I
by
have
chance?
not.
Oh, okay, because it's titled "Money Can Buy Happiness."
Well, I mean, it
Yeah.
can buy you
Oh no, but the punchline is a little bit more.
clickbait. Got it.
Yeah,
I'm going to listen to it.
So
Canadian Money Roadmap. Find it on Apple Podcasts or
That's
wherever
right.
you listen.
Yep. Yeah. So it's the people that don't tend to have life satisfaction are the people that are always in pursuit of more, as opposed to the pursuit of enough. Like, I'm stealing this line from somebody in the industry, but they call it funded contentment. It's like you got to have enough money to know that you're covered, and then move on with your life. Because if you keep moving the goalposts and trying to make big piles of gold bigger, this is the Scrooge McDuck pile of money, right? Like, you'll never be satisfied. But the people that know how much they need and they're okay with that and they can live within that, they find a lot of satisfaction. But my podcast was talking about the idea of actually being generous with others, and how the idea of spirituality and science have actually converged on this. And there's a lot of evidence from the world of science and in almost every religious context that suggests that giving to others is a great way to provide personal happiness. And so, anyways, I reference.
I very highly align with that idea.
Oh yeah, and so whenever I'm sorry, I'm cutting you off here a little bit. I just
keep going.
But I find that whenever people are, withholding and feeling like they don't have enough when they know they do have enough. I don't want to say like everybody has enough. It's like, it's not true, but lots of people have plenty, and then they're still trying to get more and more and more. I make a point of encouraging those people to find an opportunity to give to charity, and there's a lot of tax efficient ways that we can plan for that. Anyways, there's another little wrinkle there, but just from the sense of releasing even small amounts of money to an organization, a person, whatever, in need, with no expectation of anything coming back to you, has one of the most guaranteed ways to actually feel better about oneself and one's circumstances and actually feel happiness. It's completely backwards. So one of my favorite things I get to do is help people give money away, which is the opposite of what you'd kind of expect being a wealth manager. But yeah, I help people give away lots of money. It's fun. It's really cool.
I really like that. I have a mentor / life coach, and one of the things we did was a values determination test. And your top value is your mission as a person. So your values are fingerprint unique to you. Like, everyone's are like, they just are yours. And it's like a divine thing, as I would phrase it. It's like, how you don't pick what you like, you just like what you like.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, that top thing is like your purpose and mission. And the secret to real fulfillment is using that to serve others. It will generate the most wealth for you. Like, so it's self-serving, but it's like, it's because it's your top thing, you'll do it. You don't do it for anything other than the intrinsic fulfillment.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you'll endure equal pain and pleasure to do it. It's not a chore. You'll just do it, and you'll naturally do it, and your whole life will demonstrate that that's probably true about you.
Mm-hmm.
And then that last piece of like how you use that to serve others is like is the secret to life.
Hmm.
And you start as, if you're blessed with children or a spouse, like your first places to use that is those immediate family members and then your kids. But then as your area, like especially if you're amassing huge amounts of wealth and maybe you have grandkids, but like the domain, that's pretty narrow. But like if you have a lot of resources and wealth, that area of influence, you can expand that. And that idea of like, if I can't remember the biblical story. I think it's true regardless if you're a Christian or not, but like what's the one? It's like the parable about the guy gave money to three people. One guy just hit it in a rock. One guy invested it and turned it into 10 times more. Anyway, it was like the guy who made it into more got more. And it was, the idea of it, I think, which is just like a universal human truth, is like people who manage things well tend to attract more. It's like magnetic.
Stewardship, yeah.
Yeah, stewardship, yeah.
Yeah.
And I find that really interesting. And like that's where like some people, like I was told, like if you redistributed the wealth, took it all, handed it equally to everybody, the people who are rich it'll just go back to them within like 3 years or 5 years. And there's some historical examples of this. I can't remember. I think one was in like South Africa. They redistributed the land after colonizers took some. I can't remember exact details, so someone can fact check me on this. But eventually, like it was all sold, and people who got it sold it for the cash, and then the people who had it originally just got it back anyway.
Yeah.
And people who kind of manage things well tend to build it. And anyway, but yeah, back to that big picture of like your area of influence just grows as you get older, as you amass more, like as you're a better steward of your your gifts or talents or whatever. I think the phrase in the Bible was talents, maybe. But yeah, anyway, I really enjoy that. And it's cool to see that that's true even with your clients. Like giving means something to them, and that could probably be in a practical example of like maybe they go on a trip to somewhere and buy solar panels and install them. Maybe it's an engineer or something. I mean, I don't know. You probably have some stories like this where clients go out and actually do some work in communities.
Yeah, for sure.
Themselves.
But
like
a lot of
philanthropy kind of things, not just giving money to a thing, but also even doing the work themselves.
Well, yeah, that's part of where the evidence actually points back to, giving back of one's time is equally effective too. So some people don't have money to give, like truthfully, they just don't have the capacity, but they can give of their time and their energy and their talents to do that. Yeah, but I have a lot of clients that are looking for ways to make a difference in their community and the people that they care about and the organizations that they care about. And yeah, it's kind of a fun way to do what we do. And I'm not the only one by any stretch. There's plenty, even here in Saskatoon. So my former colleagues, they spend even more time and energy on that specifically, and there's others at other offices here in town. So there's, yeah, I don't want to make it seem like I'm doing something completely unique there. There's plenty of us that are doing that, and there's a lot of good people that have a lot of money that you just don't hear about in the news that are trying to make a difference in our city and our communities. Yeah.
Do you have a philosophy you think that's unique to you, or just like one that that means a lot to you? So it's a primary point of the way you work in this industry?
Yeah, I think we talked about it already, maybe a little bit, but simplicity. I think it really matters because overwhelm is so real. Like you can really get complicated. So when I do a financial plan, so planning and investing are two different things. Planning looks at more of the big picture. How do we deal with taxes? How much should you be saving? All that kind of stuff. And investing is picking what things are hopefully going to grow in value enough to meet your goals within your risk tolerance and whatever. But the simplicity aspect, I think really matters. So when I do a plan for somebody, I focus on the big rocks, like the stuff that's actually going to matter. So like I'm delivering a plan tomorrow or in a couple of days where I've got a list like this long of like all the different things that'll matter to them. But if we don't do the first one, nothing else matters. And so we focus on like the big things, like let's start here. And if we get to this stage, here's some other little things that we can do that might help out a little bit, like whatever. And so anyways, just focusing on the things that actually matter instead of delving into minutia with people so they don't get overwhelmed with everything. And then on the portfolio side of things, simplicity.
Do you find that's like the more like easy part, because it's like no one knows the future. And and even in your industry, every ad I've ever seen is like futures results not guaranteed, like on any ad, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, and the, Warren Buffett, I think, said like, try to beat the market. Like, just beating the market's hard. So just invest in it. That's, and I think some of your podcasts I've listened to are just like, put the money in, don't look at it.
Yeah.
That's the best thing you can do. But anyway.
Yeah. So I have a pretty simple implementation of my investing philosophy. It's like, stay diversified, keep your costs low, but even like the number of holdings, like we can do a pretty complicated portfolio with very few holdings. So like even what a client sees can be very simple, even though under the hood it might be a pretty complicated investment strategy. For example, on the opposite, I saw I had someone come to me from somewhere else, and they had $120,000 in RSP, and they were close to retirement, so it wasn't a ton of money. Like from that aspect, it's $100,000. Like it's a lot of money. Don't hear that, but it's not going to be. It's been in retirement. It's not going to
what, 10
fund
grand
everything.
a year.
Yeah, exactly. They had other money too, but this was just one account that I saw, and so for a reasonably small amount for someone of that demographic, there's like 25 different holdings within there, and it was like 0.2% in this one, and like little bits and bobs all over the place. And the performance was terrible. The average fees were egregious. It's like, what are we doing here? Like, and so like simplicity, the stock, bonds, and cash, it works really well once we start adding in private stuff and special this and whatever. It just adds complexity, it adds cost, it adds confusion, and usually not too much benefit. And that's coming from someone I spent all my professional life working with investments, and like the more I learn, the more the complex stuff is just not worth it on masse. Like, of course, there's always exceptions to the rule, of course, but like by and large, to answer the initial question here, key part of my philosophy is simplicity, and we can implement that in planning, through tax planning, through estate planning. It's like, get a will. There's like, let's start there, like that kind of stuff. And in the investment portfolio too. And you can have really great outcomes if you kind of strip out the stuff that's just noise and will prevent you from actually getting ahead.
Is that almost good for you to have like the internet's full of bad advice? So people come to you and you're like, a fresh of breath air. Like, because you're like, it doesn't matter. Like, this doesn't, whatever you learned on this YouTube video, it doesn't matter. Like, this is, or that Reddit page.
In some ways, yes. Like it's a teaching opportunity, but then you have to convince people of it too, because
I guess,
it was like you're the new voice in the room, and they were previously convinced that this was worthwhile doing or was less risky than they thought, or they thought that yield means return. This classic present day garbage that gets thrown out there. You have to like re-educate people on that. And so back to who's a good client, it's people that ask questions and want to know the answers and are willing to implement it. Because if they learn something from generic place on the internet and they say like, is this relevant to me? And I say, like, could be for somebody, but for you it's not because of this reason. They say, oh, okay, and then they just ignore it. Perfect. But if they'd say like, here's a thing that I learned, how can I apply it to my life? It's like, well, that might not be
they're trying to min-max it, and like,
it's like being a maximizer isn't really my approach.
Well, and to do that,
because
no one can promise that anyway.
Exactly, because you can only do it in hindsight.
Yeah.
And so I like to use an evidence-based philosophy where it says like, okay, well, how can we actually improve our odds here of getting to this amount tomorrow or whatever you're trying to do? But
that number is like not the thing. Like you're more like taking a bigger picture. Like a number in a bank account's one thing, but what does that mean?
Oh yeah.
How you want to live your life, how you want to give, how you want to spend.
And all of that points to the number, right? So like they kind of work together,
help
but
define
like,
it.
Exactly. Yeah.
But you like, you have a realistic range of where that number might be in 20, 30 years.
Yep.
And then that will dictate probably the way that someone's life, like the options they have available to them. And then the reality of it, of like, you'll be happy probably no matter what. And like, mostly, if and you don't know, you could lose your spouse. Like,
yeah,
the unforeseen happens too. Like, and so I don't know.
Yeah.
I think I appreciate that calm view of like, and guidance that you have to just point people in a direction that's bigger than a number. Cause yeah, like at the end of it, it's like we're, I find the philosophical side of this really interesting, because I'm a kind of person who wants to make sure I enjoy my life today
Mm-hmm.
and tomorrow. And I'm learning that you don't have to have one without the other.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's a balance that you can find for sure.
And there's a reality. Yeah. And the bigger the camper, it doesn't matter. You don't even need a camper. You can go tent. You can go make a friggin' snow fort like the outdoor boys on in Alaska, right?
Yeah.
Make YouTube videos.
I'm stealing this line from somebody else, but it's like it shapes so much of how I think about things now. But he suggested that one should keep their humility high and their costs low. So, just costs are an easy one to control, but humility shapes a lot of it. Like not trying to predict the future, not thinking that everything we know today is going to be the same thing tomorrow. All those kinds of things. Like you're smarter than the market, or you're smarter than somebody else. Like no, it's a high level of humility shapes a lot of what you do, or it can, I guess, and the opposite is also true. And then if you keep your costs down associated with that, you can be in pretty good shape.
Why did you get into this job anyway? Like what kind of?
So I did an econ degree here at the U of S, and I like numbers, but I don't like living in numbers. Like I'm not an engineer level, like that way. I like people too much, and so I wanted a combination of things that worked with numbers, analytics, and people. I thought financial services is probably a pretty good connection between those things, and a couple opportunities fell in my lap to make that actually happen. So, anyways, that's a longer story there. So it was a thought I had, like, oh, maybe this would be a good combination.
What episode number is this on your podcast?
I've talked about it throughout the
whole thing.
Yeah, but it was just I talked to my parents' financial planner, who was Frank Enns, who I ended up working at his firm, and I just said, hey, can I pick your brain on the industry or whether this would be a good fit for me? And I had an opportunity to do an internship through the Department of Economics, and I thought, maybe I could just go set up my own instead of just getting assigned to some place to go crunch numbers for a while. And so I talked to Frank, and he said, well, actually, I was thinking about my long-term plan, and I need to start building a team, and thought you're probably on a path that would make sense. So I was thinking maybe you should come work here. I was like, whoa, okay, let's kind of blend these here today. So I said, how about I do my internship through you, if you kind of help me set it up with my prof, and then you can see how I work. I'll work for free. I get some course credit for it. Then after that, we can kind of see if this is a fit, whether I like what kind of happens here and how you like to do things, and whether you actually want me to be the one to help you out to do it. And he said, yeah, for sure. And then once the internship was done, it was a good fit, and the rest is history.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So simple. But yeah, like a little bit of a connection. I like that. And now, and you're enjoying it. It's provided a life for you. You like.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's a great gig where you get to, it's that intersection of money, numbers, analysis, working with people, helping people.
Yeah, you seem to be, like I would count you as a people person.
Yeah.
Like
you have to have both, I think. Like there's a lot of people in the industry that are good people, and they probably came up through the old school insurance world where they're good salespeople. And then there's other people that are really good on the technical side of it, and they do a really good job on the planning, but I'm not thinking of anyone in particular, but they might struggle with the human side of financial planning. So finding a balance between those can be hard, but I think it's a necessary part of doing the job well. So it's a constant pursuit, I guess.
Well, I'm sure that's brought you the success you've had so far. And, Cedar Point, you said, was new as of May 2025. I just wanted to thank you so much for being here. But but before we go, I want to give a plug to you.
Oh, sure.
Definitely check out Evan's podcast, Canadian Money Roadmap. You can find it anywhere you listen to podcasts. But you have a website, beautiful website. So Cedar Point. Make sure I'm saying it right. I don't have it on my notes here. What's your website?
I've got both. .ca.com.
Oh, I
It's
like
Cedar
that.
Point Wealth.
I'm a .comer.
Yeah, go to .com.
CedarPointWealth.com.
Yep.
And then you can chat. And then you're on LinkedIn. Is LinkedIn a pretty good platform for you?
It's fine. Yeah, I don't spend as much time there right now. I have a bit of a YouTube channel too. You can't contact me through YouTube, obviously, but if you're looking for
Yeah, suss them out.
my smiling face on there, you can find me there.
Evan's a good teacher.
YouTube's hard, man.
I just want to give you credit. Like, well, you make a podcast, you put your face out there.
Yeah.
Like, I think you're a really good educator. I can see that way you would bring value to your clients. And I think, that calmness, especially around finances, where if you go on, like, don't look on YouTube because it's like, oh, there's always a crash. The tariffs are doing stuff. Like, there's always some doom and gloom. And it's like, that's always been there, and I think you have a really good way of talking about it. And
I appreciate that.
Some of the guests you've had on your podcast have been awesome. Many a road trip I've listened to your show.
Really?
So,
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Well, I don't want to put anybody in a ditch by putting them to sleep on the podcast. It's not necessarily like a high energy show, but if it's content that you like, I've talked about a lot of things over the last 5 years, so you can dig back.
I think you have a great insight into what matters to people, and it's a refreshing viewpoint, relaxed, and so I think you're a gift to the community here.
Cool.
So.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate it.
So thanks for being here.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.